The relegation playoff. Final minutes. 1 goal away from extinction, and their striker had done nothing.
Aoi, get on the field. Just hold the ball, run the clock, and whatever you do, do not shoot.
Renji Aoi jogged onto the pitch. The crowd groaned. 5 years without a goal had turned the zero striker into a bad joke. His boot touched the ball, and something deep inside him cracked. A blue light flickered at the edge of his vision. A translucent panel flared. Infinite stamina dribble activated. His lungs forgot exhaustion. His legs became ghost-light. He dribbled past one defender, then another. He carved through the midfield like a shark circling weary prey. Instead of shooting, he threaded a pass so cruel that Hoshino only had to tap it in. The net billowed survival.
Renji, you are a monster. We survived because of you. You don't need to score.
The stadium erupted, but Renji stood frozen in the chaos, a ghost at the feast.
Everyone's cheering, but I didn't even try to shoot. I can't. I never will.
The final whistle blew. Teammates hoisted Hoshino onto their shoulders, but Renji slipped away, invisible. Dawn training. Renji struck the ball. It flew so far wide that it almost cleared the fence.
My legs are tireless, but every time I line up the target, something twists inside.
His legs are a gift, but if he can't shoot, he's just a workhorse.
He saved us, though. The papers are calling him the ghost dribbler.
A ghost doesn't score. We need a striker, not a marathon runner.
That evening, in the quiet of the locker room, Renji stood before the mirror.
Zero striker. Ghost dribbler. I am just a punchline they're too kind to say. 5 years. Not one goal. Even with this. Whatever this is.
He pressed his fist against the glass, and the blue flicker sparked in his eyes again. A promise and a curse. The next morning, he was first on the training pitch. Shot after shot went wide.
My body knows the motion, but when I release, something screams, stop.
For one brilliant second, he saw himself as a boy, ball in the net, arms raised wide. Then the image shattered. A penalty spot, a stadium gasping, a ball rolling past the post into shadow. The memory vanished, leaving him gasping on the training grass.
Renji, there you are. You okay? That pass in the playoff was perfect. Just keep feeding me like that. We don't need you to score.
Later in the locker room, Renji stood before the mirror again.
He doesn't mean harm, but every word is a nail in my coffin.
He nodded to himself, but in the glass, his reflection's eyes flickered blue, a ghost trapped in its own legend. A week later, under hostile floodlights, the ghost dribbler faced a team designed to crush him. Goro's men hunted him. Studs raked his ankles. Elbows slammed his ribs. The referee let it go.
Ghost dribbler, more like ghost shooter. You are invisible in the box.
The words stung less than the truth that made them possible.
Then a sudden chance. Renji jinked past the last defender, the goal gaping before him, but his right foot refused. Instead, it carved a sideways pass to Hoshino. Hoshino lashed it in. 1-0, the crowd's relief felt like an insult. Teammates mobbed Hoshino. Renji stood frozen at the edge of the box, watching the net he never threatened.
I am just a delivery system, a marathon runner, with a press pass and a broken trigger.
Goro's laughter echoed across the pitch, a promise. The zero striker had a new audience, and the show was far from over. Sleep was a trapdoor. Renji fell through the years into a stadium that smelled of medicine and fear. He stood 12 years old on a penalty spot that felt like an execution ground. A hospital bed waited in the shadows. A voice, neither young nor old, slithered into his ear. You failed, and because of you, he died without hope. He woke with a violent gasp, drenched in sweat that felt like tears. The room was silent, but the accusation echoed. Morning light found him at the training ground. Coach Takeda placed a ball on the penalty spot and stepped back, arms crossed.
I've given you time, Aoi. Now shoot. No tricks, no passes. Just put the ball in the net.
I tried. Every muscle screamed to obey, but the goal warped into a cage, and my body remembered the prison.
His leg locked at the last instant. He stabbed a weak pass toward the sideline, avoiding the goal entirely.
That wasn't technique failing. That was a man running from a ghost. What is waiting for you inside that net, Aoi?
Renji's hands trembled. The blue flicker pulsed, but the answer was still locked in that hospital room. That evening, Saito found Renji on the training ground bench, staring at nothing. The captain sat beside him without a word.
When I was a rookie, I froze before every tackle. I thought I'd break. Fear isn't weakness. Renji, it's proof you care.
Renji's lips parted. The nightmare flickered on his tongue, but the words died before they could take shape.
Whatever it is, you don't have to carry it alone. We're a team. We'll carry it together.
Renji nodded. It was a gesture, not a promise. The hospital room remained sealed inside him. The semi-final arrived without mercy. Renji ran until the opposing midfield gasped for mercy. Their press would never show. In the dying minutes, he fed Hoshino a pass that cut through 4 defenders. The net rippled. 1-0, they were through. But the celebration felt like a countdown. In the tunnel, Saito said what everyone knew. We got Goro in the final.
The press that never breaks, the man who laughed at my grave. It all comes down to this.
No one said it aloud, but the question hung in the air like smoke. Can a ghost defeat a machine? That night, sleep dragged him under like a riptide. The dream was waiting. He was 12, the stadium tiny but thunderous. His father watched from a wheelchair behind the goal, oxygen tubes trailing, a faint smile. The ball sat on the chalk mark like a verdict. Renji's small legs shook, but he remembered his father's whisper. Score for me. He struck it true. But the ball sailed past the post, and the stadium's gasp swallowed his father's face. Cut to a hospital corridor. A flatline scream. A nurse running, his father's hand falling limp. A voice, cold and final, coiled around him. You could have given him one last joy, but you missed. He jolted awake, a scream trapped in his throat. The mattress was soaked with sweat and grief.
I killed his hope. He died believing I failed him.
He stumbled to the mirror. For the first time, the reflection didn't hide. It showed the boy who had believed he was a murderer. The blue flicker steadied in his eyes. The truth was out, and it cut deeper than any jeer. After a sleepless dawn, Renji found Coach Takeda in his office. The truth he had uncovered needed a witness.
Your father was my teammate. He always said, "Watch my boy. He runs like his heart's on fire."
He was proud, even after I missed that penalty. And he died?
He told me, "I don't care if he misses every penalty, as long as he plays with fire."
The words landed like a kick to the chest. Renji's lungs emptied of a decade of guilt.
All these years, I thought I'd stolen his hope. But he was never watching the score.
That afternoon, Renji placed the ball on the penalty spot. The cage fear flickered, but for once, didn't trap him.
I know you must be there, Dad. I'll shoot for you, even if I miss.
He struck. The ball sailed high and wide, but his body hadn't seized, the first honest miss he'd ever taken. The blue glow pulsed at the edges of his vision, quiet, not a cage. Not yet, not yet, a weapon. The final was 3 days away. 2 days before the final, Renji tested his limits, running until the pitch blurred, blue aura blazing. But his shot in the box skewed sideways, barely reaching the corner flag, a drunkard's punt.
Renji, stop. Your legs are fine. Your eyes are hollow. What's happening?
My mind like wet sand. The more I ran, the heavier the cage.
He's possessed. Every shot worse. Could the stamina be burning his focus? If you drain yourself, your shot dies. In the final, you must fire. Pace yourself.
But the equation was cruel. Goro's press would force him to run more than ever, edging the fear closer.
I can't stop running. But if I run, I'll never shoot. Is there a balance?
Coach Takeda's plan. Renji would target his runs, conserve his mind for the decisive moment. The night before the final, Renji stood alone on the pitch, blue light hungry, whispering to the stars. The press room bristled with cameras. Goro leaned into his microphone like a predator over prey.
That ghost dribbler. He's a fraud. A marathon man, afraid of the box. He'll run until his legs give out, then pass like a coward.
Every word is a blade, but if I swing back, they'll see the wound.
Renji's knuckles whitened, but he rose and walked out, leaving a forest of microphones in his wake. That afternoon, alone in the empty stadium, a voice cut through the silence. You were born to run, but also to finish. Don't let the fear decide the race.
Dad, I thought I'd failed you, but you never needed me to win. I'll run. I'll break their machine. And when the moment comes, even if I can't shoot, I'll make the pass that kills.
A ghost no longer afraid of its own shadow. The shot still caged, but the runner unchained. The final waited. A machine that never breaks, and a man who could run forever, with a trigger still cracked. The final erupted under white-hot floodlights. Goro's machine revved from the kickoff, hunting in packs.
Press him. Don't let him breathe. The ghost dies today.
Renji's first touch sparked blue fire. He jinked past a lunging body. Studs raked his ankle. A whistle. Goro's smirk said it all. This was war without rules. Renji rose. He dribbled circles, forcing the press to chase shadows until they gasped. A through ball to Hoshino. His shot cannoned off a desperate block. The crowd groaned. Stoppage time. Renji's breath came in knives, but two defenders were already bending over, gasping.
You are breaking them, but your eyes are hollow. Pace the fire, Renji.
Can't stop, but one more run, and the cage will lock forever.
He nodded, hollow. Outside, the second half waited, a storm. 0-0, no place left to hide. The second half ignited. Goro's system shifted, a midfielder glued to Renji's shadow, a second lung for the machine.
Stick to him like glue. Cut his passing lanes. Force him to shoot.
Renji's passes grew sloppy. The shadow squeezed him wide, turning his playground into a cage.
Shadow on my heels. Every pass, a gamble. I need space, or the cage locks.
He spun away, threaded a razor pass to Hoshino, but Goro slid in, clearing the danger with a grunt.
Predictable. Your ghost is seen. Away.
Then, a sudden break. Renji burst into the box, the goal gaping. His right foot drew back, but his body seized. A split-second pause, and a defender lunged, hooking the ball away.
Renji, believe in yourself.
The clock dripped. Renji's eyes flickered blue, desperate. The cage was closing faster now. Then, with 15 minutes left, the chains snapped. Renji burst through the exhausted press, one-on-one with the keeper, but the goal mouth twisted into cold iron bars. From the stands, a ghost, his father's smile fading, replaced by that hospital flatline. The memory of the missed penalty flooded back. 12 years old, his small body shaking, the ball sailing past the post, the sterile beep of the monitor. His leg moved on instinct. The ball skidded off his foot, rolling pathetically wide of the post.
I told you. A striker who can't shoot is just a clown. You are a ghost and ghosts don't score.
Renji's knees buckled, but before he hit the ground, hands caught him.
It's not over. Get up, Renji. We're still here.
You are not the ghost of a boy anymore.
Not over. I can still stand. I can still run.
He rose, blue fire hardening in his eyes. 5 minutes remained. His legs would never stop. And maybe, just maybe, neither would his heart, for a long second. Renji stood in the eye of the stadium storm, teammates shouting Goro's sneer. The clock, a relentless heartbeat. He closed his eyes, shutting out the noise. In the silence behind his eyelids, a familiar warmth bloomed. You always ran with all your heart. That's enough.
He wasn't watching the goal. He was watching me. He was always watching me run.
His eyes snapped open, and the blue fire that had been a curse turned to a roaring flame.
Next time I get the ball in the box, I am shooting. No more ghosts.
Then we'll feed you. We trust you. Now let's finish this.
They broke the huddle. 4 minutes left. The machine was running on fumes now, its pressing legs heavy, its taunts silent.
Just one more run. Just one more chance. This time, I won't let fear decide.
The stadium held its breath. The ghost dribbler was no longer running from his shadow. He was chasing the light. Renji collected the ball near the center circle and ignited. The blue fire in his legs devoured the pitch. He ghosted past a lunging midfielder, then another. The machine had no answers for a man who felt no pain. He cut inside, then outside, drawing a gasp from the crowd. Goro stepped forward to block and stumbled, his legs betraying him. Then only the keeper stood before him. The stadium froze. Time became a single, suspended breath.
This is it. The cage is gone. The only walls now are the ones I make.
No hesitation. He drew his right leg back, the arc of a missile. His eyes glowed, fixed not on the keeper, but on the net. No cage, only a goal. The world blurred around him. He heard only silence, then the release. His laces struck the ball with a thunderclap, and then he swung through the ball, a roar trapped in his throat. The ball screamed off his laces, a white-hot meteor burning through the cold night air. The keeper launched himself, fingers grazing the edge of a ghost, but the ball had already decided its fate. It crashed into the net, whipping the cords into a frenzy. The strike echoed like a gunshot through the silent stadium.
Did that go in?
For a breathless fragment of time, he only stared as if witnessing someone else's miracle.
I scored. I actually scored. Dad, I shot and it went in.
He did it. The ghost finally scored. Renji, you are a striker now. Renji, no one can ever take this away from you.
The scoreboard flickered. 1-0. The name beside the number was finally Aoi. The zero striker had died long ago on a childhood penalty spot. Tonight, a phoenix rose in his place. The final minutes were a blur of desperate blocks and exhausted legs. Goro's machine had broken against the ghost. Then, the whistle. 3 sharp blasts, and the world erupted into chaos. They had won the cup. Teammates collided in a pile of joy. But Renji's eyes swept the field until they found a lone, kneeling figure. Renji walked across the shattered battlefield, past the confetti and the noise, and extended a hand toward his fallen rival.
You pushed me to become better. Without your taunts, I might have stayed a ghost.
You finally finished the race. I can't even stand. That was the most terrifying run I've ever seen.
Goro let himself be pulled up. For a long moment, the two strikers stood in the rubble of their war, an unspoken truce.
Renji, come on, they're bringing out the trophy.
He turned and joined his team, the cup cold and heavy in his hands, not a weight, but an anchor to his new self. And as the golden rain fell, the ghost dribbler who had finally struck kissed the cup, and the crowd roared his name. Long after the confetti settled, Renji sat alone in the center circle, the cup resting beside him like a sleeping beast.
The stars are clearer tonight. Maybe you are up there, Dad. I hope you saw that. The run wasn't just for me.
A familiar translucent panel flickered before his eyes. Skill evolution, unstoppable strike acquired. You have reclaimed the soul of a striker.
Unstoppable. Not because I can't be stopped, but because I won't stop myself anymore.
He rose, and his shadow stretched long across the grass. Not one figure, but two, the man he had become, and the boy who had finally been forgiven. The blue fire in his eyes had settled into a steady, warm glow. No longer a cage, but a hearth. He walked off the pitch, the ghost dribbler who now struck without fear. And in the stars, a voice he almost heard said, "Well done, my boy. Well done." The zero striker was dead. The phoenix had risen, and the marathon would never end. Weeks later, the training pitch echoed with a new sound, the clean snap of a shot that no longer hesitated. The sports pages could barely believe the words they printed. From zero to hero, Aoi's miracle goal. At a children's football clinic, the ghost dribbler knelt in the grass, teaching not just to run, but to strike. A small boy pulled at his sleeve, asking if he was afraid of the goal anymore. Renji only laughed, the sound light as air. He placed a ball before them and whispered the same words his father had once whispered to him. "Just run with all your heart. That's enough." His boots that once felt like chains now were wings. Every shot was a quiet tribute to the man who never asked for a goal. When the new season dawned, Renji walked onto the pitch not as a ghost, but as a striker with fire in his chest. He raised his fist not in defiance, but in promise. The promise that every run would end with a shot, and every shot would carry his father's heart. The ghost dribbler had finally struck, and now he runs not from his past, but toward his future. In his small apartment, the trophy sat beside a faded photograph, a man in a wheelchair smiling, a boy holding a ball. His phone buzzed. A single message from an unlikely name. Goro, next season. I won't let you run forever. Train well or I'll break your record.
He's still fighting. So am I. That's not a promise. It's a fact.
A familiar warm glow flickered before his eyes. The system's final message. Quest complete. Rediscover the striker's soul. Reward, infinite stamina dribble, now integrated with unstoppable strike. His eyes, once a cage, now gleamed with quiet fire. The blue had become his own. Somewhere on a pitch, in a memory that never fades, a phoenix burned across the grass, not to destroy, but to rise. His boots sat by the door, scuffed and waiting. No longer a reminder of failure, but of every mile he'd conquered. He stepped out into the dawn, the stadium a cathedral of new beginnings. The marathon continued, but now he could strike at any moment. At dusk, he returned alone to the same spot where his nightmare began. The penalty arc felt smaller now. This time, his shadow didn't tremble. It held the hand of the boy who once believed he'd failed forever. In the empty stands, a father's voice rustled the grass. You already won, my boy. He walked toward the tunnel with a quiet smile, no longer fleeing the cage, because there was no cage left. The scoreboard flickered once, not a system message, just 2 words. Welcome back, striker. His boots at the tunnel entrance, scuffed and waiting, now carried the weight of redemption, not regret. A new dawn broke over the stadium. Renji lined up with the fire of a marathon that would never end. He raised his fist, not in defiance, but as an offering to the father who taught him to run, and the boy who finally dared to strike. The ghost was never the dribbler. It was the fear, and fear does not survive the fire. He failed to score for 5 straight years, but that activated an infinite stamina dribble, and in the end, a strike that rewrote his legend. In the hush of the empty stadium, Renji stood alone. The penalty arc was just chalk now, a memory bleached by dawn. He placed the ball on the spot not to punish himself, but to remind himself of how far he had come. The blue glow in his legs was a gentle thrum, not a cage, but a companion he had earned. He took a single breath, and for the first time, the goal before him felt like an invitation, not a verdict. He ran, not away from the past, but toward the future he had always deserved. His laces struck the ball, a clean, crisp sound that echoed through the empty stands like a heartbeat. The net billowed. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just smiled, a quiet, private victory. He pulled the ball from the net and held it to his chest, whispering a quiet thank you to the sky. And as the stars began to fade, he knew that every run, every mile, every miss had led him to this moment of peace. He failed to score for 5 straight years, but that failure had activated something far greater, the infinite stamina to keep going, and the courage to finally strike.